Hi everyone, I hope you're really excited for Christmas. It's just a few days away. Today's book is called Peef, the Christmas Bear, and it's by Tom Haig and illustrated by Warren Hansen. Once upon a polar night, so many years ago, while starlight sparkled silently upon the hills of snow, the elves in Santa's workshop heard a jolly laughing call. They put aside their work and made their way along the hall to Santa Claus, who said, "There's a job I need to do, and I'm going to need the help of every one of you. Please bring a piece of cloth to me you prize above the rest." So he said, "Bring me a special piece of fabric or cloth." They tried to guess at Santa's plan while walking to the chest that held the bolts of fabric for the clothing and the toys they made each year by Christmas for the world's girls and boys. And every elf, as Santa asked, picked out one special piece. And brought it back to Santa Claus and placed it by the fleece that Santa used for stuffing. Then by golden candle glow, they watched with growing wonder as the man began to sew. A scrap of blue, a seam of pink, some green, some red, some brown. Why, every color that there was running up and down, the front and sides and underneath of what was forming there. What do you think he's making? Let's see if you're right. A Santa-made masterpiece, a brand new Christmas bear. How lovely. He's all sorts of colors and fabrics. How special. And just before the last few stitches, as a final touch, dear Santa said, "A little bear who means so very much has got to have a way to say his name, now don't you think?" And the elves all nodded yes. Then Santa, quick as a wink, installed a little button in the tummy of the bear. And then he said, "Now all I need to do is touch once. There. There's his little belly button." And as he did, all the elves were stunned beyond belief. The little bear had sprung to life and sung his name out, "Peef!" So Peef, the many-colored Christmas bear, had come to be, and how he'd ever done without him, Santa couldn't see. For Peef became his chief assistant. Peef became his friend. Peef would help to leaf through all the letters the kids would send. But when he read them, oftentimes his heart would feel a tug. "Dear Santa Claus, please send a teddy bear that I can hug." Oh. Peef is a good friend to Santa. Peef loved his life with Santa. Oh, he gloried in the ride. He'd taken Santa's flying sleigh each year at Christmastide. He played with all the reindeer, fed them grain, sheaf after sheaf. They shook their harness bells as if to say, "Glad welcome, Peef." The elves would see themselves in him and ask him how he was. He'd peef with blushing thanks when they would praise his plushy fuzz. And there's Peef, bringing some wheat for the reindeer to eat. For Peef, like all who lived with Santa in the polar cold, was ever new, and while he stayed, he would never grow old. Look, he made a little Christmas bear angel. So Christmas after Christmas, Peef would climb into the sleigh and a Peef goodbye to all the toys that Santa gave away. But sometimes he would hear a piercing squeal of purest joy and dream he was in that magic first hug from a boy or girl who'd maybe dress him up or ask him out to tea or tell them all their worries in pledge of secrecy. Sometimes he'd steal a peepy peek into a frosted pane, and there he'd see a bear in bed smeared with red candy cane. And oh, how he wished, with every color of his coat, that he belonged to someone who would sit him in a boat, who'd take him to the backyard and blow up wading pool, who'd try to sneak him in with them to school. His colors would grow brighter as the dream became more real. He'd peef with sheer belief because he felt like he could feel. But when the sleigh was empty and the reindeer made for home, the dream would end, like always, at the turn just north of Nome. Peef was kind of wishing he got to experience life with a kid. The days were very busy, scarcely time for idle pause, besides the barely ever stopping likes of Santa Claus. Peef peefed a happy melody that sweetened up the air. Whenever he was working, Peef's bright baritone was there, and Peef was deeply grateful. Oh, he knew he had it made. He owed so much to Santa, and that's why he was afraid. To tell the kindly man the truth, it seemed so hard because it wasn't that he didn't love to be with Santa Claus. Here he's carrying a bunch of letters from kids while Santa watches on. He says, I love my time with Santa, but I need to tell him something. So it says, it wasn't that he didn't love to be with Santa Claus, but still, no matter how he tried to hide his heart's desire, he'd find himself with Santa sipping cocoa by the fire. And as the burning logs would pop and hiss, he'd to stare, and there within the flames he'd see a vision of a bear who looked just like him, lying right beside a sleeping child, exactly as a teddy bear was meant to do. A wild excitement would grow in him, and he'd jump into Santa's lap. He'd almost say, please take me to the elves and let them wrap me up in a Christmas paper. Let them take me to the sleigh. Oh, Santa, how I love you, but you must give me away. But every time he tried, one breath before he had it said, he'd stopped himself and hugged Santa tightly, then went off to bed. And so one year became the next, and Peef the Christmas bear remained at Santa's side and never looked worse for wear. For passing time has no effect in Santa's magic land, and tears repair themselves with just the touch of Santa's hand, and jelly stains don't happen, nor do button eyes get lost, and stuffing is replaced when needed, never mind the cost. Saying that toys at the North Pole never get old or ruined. They always stay perfectly new. One Christmas Eve, while children dreamt of what was soon to be, and Peef was dreaming back, oh, I wish how it could be me. He rode as he had always done, right there by Santa's side. They made their way round the earth with starlight as their guide. And then, just as the reindeer turned to make it again for home, precisely at that familiar turn just north of Nome, the sleigh came to an altogether unexpected halt. Why, Santa Claus had stopped it, and he said, it's all my fault. Now, Peef, how many years have I been doing this? A ton? I can't believe I'm short of toys, and yet I am, by one. Oh no, Santa is short a toy. What do you think's going to happen? Why don't you make a prediction? I wonder how Santa's going to solve that problem. Let's see if your prediction was right. But there was something special in the tone of Santa's voice. that told the little bear this was a mistake made by choice, meaning Santa didn't really forget he's doing it by choice. And Peef looked up to Santa, but the old man looked ahead. His eyes alight. I'm not sure just what. Then Santa said, we have a special duty to the children, you and I. We can't forget a single one. You know the reasons why. We have to think of them before we think about ourselves. Besides, we have to set a good example for the elves. I guess what I'm trying to say, then he could say no more. And for a little time they sat together on the shore of Christmas Day that washed the far horizon of the night as the sleigh began to move again. A growing light began to glow the inky canopy of sky. So Christmas is just about done. They wanted to spend it together. Until a bright aurora borealis filled the eye of heaven. Oh, the colors that adorned the Christmas air, all radiating from the heart of one small teddy bear. Little fellow Peef for joy, his dream was coming true, for soon a little boy would say, Peef, I love you. The sleigh alighted on a humble roof. Then Santa said, say, little friend, you better trim your light. They're still in bed. It's Christmas Eve. The neighborhood should be fast asleep. They stepped out on the drifted snow, so cold, so white, so deep. And Santa held the little bear he'd made so long ago, with bits of cloth from all the elves. And then he said, you know, but Peef's expression stopped his word, for Peef was well aware that Santa wouldn't be around to fix each rip and tear. Here, jelly stains do happen, button eyes might just get lost. But here's where he was meant to be, no matter what the cost. And giving up that little bear he made with his own hands, from all the colors of the earth in bright embracing bands, was how, upon one special night, with blessings from each elf, that Santa Claus had given so completely of himself. Santa gave away one of his most prized possessions, Peef, his good friend Peef, because he knew someone needed it more. The little teddy bear made Santa smile from ear to ear by saying with a twinkle, I'll be seeing you next year. So Santa's fingers pointed towards the tummy of the bear, and then he said, now all I need to do is touch once there. And as he vanished, one small child was thrilled beyond belief, for right beside the pillow there, a little bear said, Peef. Wasn't that just a wonderful story about kindness, how kind Santa was to let Peef live his dream of being a toy for a child, and how Peef said, I don't care if I get dirty or ripped or lose my button. I want to make a child happy. That's my dream. I hope you get something really special for Christmas this year, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Love you. See you soon.